Well, Matt, Steven, thank you so much for coming. Welcome to the Love Seat.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, of
Having
course.
us. We're excited.
You guys just celebrated 3 years together, right?
We did.
3 long years. Yes, we did.
Long.
For people that don't maybe know, do you want to give us some context on your relationship and background?
We met on
So,
Instagram years
yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
right when I moved here to Los Angeles. It was like my
I-
first connection out here.
I found his Instagram and I slid in the DMs. We hung out as friends,
We saw it.
the movie It
Yeah.
together, and then we kind of were just talking for like a few months, but never became like official. And then we kind of stopped talking and then just kind of became friends. And then Matt moved away back to Virginia for a bit.
Yeah, so you guys aren't both from LA, right?
No.
Where are you both individually from?
I'm from Chicago, but I've lived in like Texas and Florida as well.
And I'm from Virginia.
And what made you each move out to LA individually?
The entertainment industry.
Yeah, entertainment industry for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, you
social
both wanted
media.
to be actors?
Yeah.
Acting, modeling, yeah.
Has that always been the dream for both of you since you were young?
At a very early age, yeah, I always wanted to get into
Okay.
acting and that stuff.
And then you each decided that you weren't going to go to college, you were going to follow like a non-traditional path and move to LA?
Yeah, because especially when I was young, I was always like, how's college going to help me in any of the careers that I want? I mean, you can, get a degree in acting, but I don't think I knew that at the time.
Yeah.
And then just when social media started picking up, I just was like, okay, this is it. Took the opportunity and moved.
Okay, and for you?
For me, I always wanted to get into acting and modeling, but like didn't necessarily know how, like not being in LA. So when I was 16, my mom and I moved to LA, and kind of at the same time, I was like into watching YouTube. So I would watch YouTube and I was like, I want to do this myself. And then got into social media, and that's just what happened.
That's so interesting. And so how did both of your parents react to you deciding you wanted to do that?
My mom always knew. Like we
Okay.
like tried to get into acting in Chicago, but it just wasn't a thing there. So I feel like growing up, it was just kind of like it was gonna happen at some point. And I think my mom was kind of going through a midlife crisis, and she's just like, all right, let's just pick up and move.
So you moved to LA at 16 with your mom.
Yeah.
And so you changed high schools then between sophomore and junior year?
Freshman year actually. So I convinced my mom to let me do online high school because I was like, everyone's doing it, and like this is just what like we have to do to like get to LA. I couldn't like take off of school. And initially we came to LA to kind of just see the entertainment like industry and see like if I could get into it somehow.
Uh-huh.
And we came for vacation. I started taking acting classes and going to like workshops, and I got signed. And when I signed, they were like, if you don't move here, then we don't want to sign you. So we just made the spontaneous decision to move, and I was already in online high school, so it kind of worked out. And then I got into acting classes, and like it was just the norm here. Everyone was in online school because if you're on set and stuff, like you have to like go to like school on set and all that. So
And then when did you decide that the path to college wasn't the path that you wanted to pursue?
it's funny because growing up, college was very like spoken about a lot in my family, and like growing up, like it was just always like you're gonna go to college. But I
Did both your
think-
parents go to school?
No, but
Okay.
my siblings did.
Okay.
My sister's a principal of a school. She was like a teacher first that went back to school, and so like my older sister would always talk to me about college and stuff. But I think like in high school, I maybe realized like it just wasn't gonna happen. I started to have a more real life look at, or a more realistic look at life, and I was just like, one, school is so expensive, and what I am like most passionate about doesn't require school. And then of course moving to LA in high school, I was just like, okay, well now I'm here. So now I'm finishing school and I'm already here, so college isn't really an option, I guess.
I started doing social media at home. I always wanted to be an actor before. I was doing musical theater at home. And my sister actually got into social media first, and she kind of helped push me into it and was like, this could be like a stepping stone for you to become an actor. And I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. So I gained a little bit of a following, and I was in school actually. I had just started school. I was homeschooled all growing up until high school. And one day she called me. She moved out to LA when she was 18. And she was like, you can move out here with me with your social media, and you can go back to being homeschooled again like we used to, and you can start auditioning out here, like you have to do it. And I was dealing with some family issues at the time for I was kind of like, figuring out my sexuality and my, you know, coming from like a southern state and like just that whole religious kind of family,
Yeah.
situation. It was kind of already I was kind of already struggling with my like home life, and she was like, just leave. And so my parents were like, kind of like, just
Oh,
leave,
wow.
honestly, too. So when I told them, I was kind of very scared, but she was like, you're gonna have to do this if you want to do it. Like, you're gonna have to down with them and explain to them and like tell them that's what you want or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
so I
wait.
did, and they were just like, okay, that,
Tell me more about that. What was that process like with your family?
the process of moving.
No, like how did you get from you struggling with your sexuality to them being just leave? What was that?
Well, I mean, I think it was very obvious, like, at least to me and to them and everyone, that I was gay growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once I was in high school and I was actually like, was talking to a boy secretly and they kind of found out about it. And so it was kind of a back and forth situation. And I was kind of still in denial. I wasn't out to my friends or anything.
Uh-huh.
So I was kind of denying it to them. And it was just causing a lot of conflict in the family. And it never was really that bad. It was like conflict or it was just unspoken. And so when she approached me with the idea, they kind of, I think, just wanted the burden of like dealing with me and dealing with that out of the way. And so they said, we'll think about it. But like they basically said yes right when I confronted them with it.
Uh-huh.
And then 2 weeks later, they were like, yeah. And then it was like 2 weeks after that that I had moved. So it all happened and like the idea came and then I moved like a month later and I was also 16 when that happened. So
That's crazy. So you
yeah.
moved out to LA on your own at 16?
Yeah, well, I moved in with my sister. I couldn't have
Okay.
done anything without her. And I moved in with her and she was basically my mom till I was 18.
Okay.
And then I moved back home when I was 18. That's what Steven mentioned earlier. Got my license, got 2 jobs because I wanted to be able to get my own apartment by myself and like, really do it for real when I was 18. And yeah, that's what I did. I moved in with Steven actually. First.
Do you feel like your parents have become more receptive now, or are they're still just as close off?
Still the exact same, unfortunately, but it's also like cordial. I see them for Christmas and like
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's kind of been a continuous issue even before I came out. It was me. It was another member of our family.
Okay.
So it's kind of been yeah, something that's my mom and my dad, I guess, have been dealing with forever, and hopefully they come around, but we'll see.
Did you
Not yet.
find that hard? Who did you find that you turned to growing up in order to get that validation? That
Well,
you were like, it was okay to be who you were.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't turn to anyone for the longest time, and I was super in denial with myself, with my friends, my family, and everybody. And I wish that I had the
Someone,
courage,
yeah.
but I don't also know. I don't know. A lot has changed in the last. We talk about it all the time. So much has changed just from when we were in high school that I feel like now all of our peers would be more accepting than like they were at the time. But I remember I came out to one of my best friends. Because it was kind of blowing up because my parents were coming for me about it. My sister started asking me about it. And then like, obviously I was dealing with it in high school and some people were questioning me and asking and stuff. And so it just began to be too much. And I had one friend that like I had known since preschool. We reconnected later in life. And since she had no really ties to my school, my church, my like theater or anything, I was like comfortable telling her and opening up to her. I knew she was supportive and that was really nice. She really helped me through it. And then after that, it was my sister, and then slowly the rest of my friends.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I imagine your sister has been quite supportive then.
Yeah, of course. My biggest support, definitely. And I have more siblings. My other sister is now very supportive too. And it's hard because, we all were brought up the same way.
Yeah.
And not all of us are LGBT, but being LGBT, it's easier for me to not be judgmental of other LGBT people and stuff, like because I understand, and it's kind of scary because my siblings, are brought up
Yeah.
to be taught that it's wrong,
Yeah.
and so it means a lot that they have come around and that they, still can.
Yeah. And for Steven, what was your story like?
My story was a little bit different. I kind of knew I was gay at a very early age.
How early is early?
I think I knew I was gay maybe around 4 or 5.
No way. Well, what was the first inclination?
Well, I remember being 4 and wanting and like having Polly Pockets, and I remember my dad like having an issue with it and me like running to my mom for help. I remember me like wanting to play with like girl toys in preschool and stuff like that. So I've always been a little bit more feminine, I'd say. And I mean, I tried to like hide it for as long as I could just because I was like bullied in elementary school because of it and stuff.
You were bullied because you were interested in the more feminine things.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I think, like I said, I think it's always been obvious. So I was always just kind of a target.
Yeah.
And then I came out at 16, not because I wanted to, but my mom, when I would get in trouble, she'd take my phone because it was like the thing closest to me, you know?
Uh-huh.
And she would always ask for my password, and she saw messages of some guy I was talking to, I guess. And she kind of like made me tell her. And
Okay.
I remember just being so scared and like crying, and her being like, "What do you want me to say?" And I was like, "Well, I can't make you say anything." And I grew up Christian and like always going to church and like
Yeah.
just believing in God and having faith and etc. And my mom was like, "Well, I think you should think about reading scripture and living your life the right way."
Wow.
And we hadn't been in LA for that long, and I remember her blaming LA and saying it's because I brought you to LA. And when I came to LA, I finally made friends that I felt like I related to on that level.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, before that I was in Texas and then Chicago, and I hadn't really made a gay friend ever. I was always the only one. So coming to LA and seeing how accepted that lifestyle is, and then finding other people my age that were also gay, made me express myself even further and be more comfortable.
Yeah.
So yeah, but very shortly after, my mom thankfully changed her mindset, and she is beyond open-minded. She went to Mexico with Matt and I. She adores Matt.
That's so fun.
She's the best, really.
Yeah, she is probably my best friend. I'm like a mama's boy, honestly. So yeah, it was like a little tough in the beginning.
Yeah,
And
you guys both have had tough times.
Yeah, I remember thinking at one point I was gonna like leave LA and being like, what do I do? But her mind changed. Thank God.
I know this is pure speculation, but do you think you would have had a different story or a different path had your families grown up in a more liberal environment like LA, or not?
I think so, because I think I would have felt comfortable telling my mom at an earlier age,
Yeah.
and not her prying it out of me, which like I'm glad did happen because like it needed to happen. But
Do you wish it had come sooner, or?
not really. I wouldn't change anything personally, just because I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason, and yeah, like I think it's fine.
For me, I definitely think my life would be different.
Okay.
I think that, I mean, I kind of wish all the time, honestly. I think it's held me back a lot. And I
Okay.
think I'm still dealing with it. Probably partly because they haven't really come around, and I haven't really
Yeah.
had that, like, I don't know if closure is the right word, but like making amends with them, or,
Yeah.
you know. I feel like I have been able to accept myself, which is the most important part, but like it would be nice to have like their acceptance too and their support. And I definitely don't feel that or have that. And I think it would also have helped me in my career a lot.
Yeah. So you haven't met.
It's so bad.
I was supposed to, because
Yeah, my mom flew out here, and then
we had COVID.
the day
Oh, wow.
of, like, my mom had just landed. My sister picked her up from the airport, and Steven like was like called me. I had another friend staying with me from Virginia, and he FaceTimes me. He's like, I just tested positive for COVID. And then I was like, oh my gosh. And my friend and I were like, looked at each other, and I was like, I low-key am not
We were
feeling that
together
good.
the
You were
day
fully
before.
ready to meet Matt's Matt's
Yeah,
mom?
no, I was
My mom
like,
thought I was lying. She was like, "You don't
Yeah.
really have COVID, do you?"
Oh man.
It's like, I mean, no, but it does seem very convenient, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted it to happen in a way. Like I was nervous for sure, but
I
it
was so
been,
nervous.
it could have been a good
as you can
step, you know.
imagine.
It's hard for me to make those steps with my parents when I
Yeah.
talk to them about it. So just being around us and like seeing how we are together and stuff could have been a big step, and it's unfortunate it didn't happen. But I don't know, maybe on FaceTime or something another time. It just hasn't been the right moment, and it's kind of scary. I also feel bad for Steven. I feel like it's uncomfortable.
I think I understand, you know, like it's not his. It's not like you're making the decision.
Yeah, it's a tough subject.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you both moved to LA at 16, and then when do you meet for the first time?
I was 16.
We
Like
met
2 months after I moved here.
Yeah.
So, like-
so we were DMing and then we made plan. I was hanging out with a group of friends. I was like, "Do you want to come to the movies with us?" His sister dropped him off.
You're
and
how old at this time?
I was 16.
I
Okay.
was 17. I was 17 or 18. 18.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I think 18, yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm 2 years older, yeah.
And we just went to the
And
movies and saw
He
it.
wasn't out, so like
Yeah,
like,
it was interesting.
we were just hanging out as friends, but like I obviously thought he was cute, but I wasn't gonna like come on to him, you know?
Yeah.
And then we spoke of it later.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, I like you too."
Was it clear that there was chemistry right away, or was it something that developed over time?
I mean, I
I
feel
think
like
it
because
was-
if I knew that I was gay, but I wasn't letting him know that I was gay, like
Uh-huh.
I kind of like knew it was probably happening sooner. But I feel like you also had your intentions.
Yeah, I think
And I mean, I wasn't like I was like. I mean, I was hiding it at the time. I was definitely presented myself. I would say different than I do now. But I'm sure you knew that I was
Yeah.
gay too. So
And then I think you guys were together for a little while, and then you broke up, and then now you're back together again, right?
3 months, but we were just
Yeah.
like young and not.
You were
fully
together for 3 months, or
ready.
you were broken up for 3 months?
3 months we were together,
Okay.
talking-ish together.
yeah, we were like talking and hanging out, but we were never official boyfriends.
It was close to being official.
Okay. Was that
I
your
would say. I just don't think we were all ready, which is better that happened that way.
Yeah.
And we became friends, and Steven helped
was-
me a lot when I moved back here because he let me stay with him when I was looking, and then COVID started right as I was about to sign my first lease.
Mhm.
Didn't sign it because I didn't know what to expect. Then, that helped us.
Like I said,
Become
everything
back
happens for
together,
a
yeah.
reason.
Was that both of your first real relationships?
No.
Matt had been in relationships. This is actually my first relationship.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
And so what was it that caused you guys to separate for a little while?
So I turned 19 and I just felt like the age gap was like too big, and like I just felt like it wasn't working out.
What was
in
it,
the-
19 and 17?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I just felt a little uncomfortable after I turned 19, and it was my first time
You
really
also-
talking to
yeah.
someone, and like I didn't know. I was like scared and not ready, honestly.
Yeah.
I was young, and we were both young. I mean,
Yeah.
I was young. He was young, so. And I think we also skipped that kind of like time of maybe getting to know each other and
Yeah.
becoming friends.
Yeah.
Because we immediately were kind of like,
True.
we like
Okay.
each other, but I think we just needed to get to know each other more and
Yeah, I prefer it that way
grow
anyway.
honestly as well, because he had just moved to LA. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
lot,
I mean, stuff had happened, a lot went down, and then we had this like meeting.
Tell
Steven
me
was on,
about
like,
it.
a trip for a month,
Oh yeah, I went to Europe for a month.
and
Okay.
that did not do well for us. Just having started to getting together, and
What was it, the communication that didn't go
the
well?
communication, and Steven was in Europe.
I was in
and we weren't really
Europe.
official. So
What
it
were
was
the
just-
expectations that weren't being met?
I mean,
I thought we were
was-
more exclusive.
I
and
was
together.
meeting people in Europe.
Okay, so you were seeing other people. Matt, you thought like, hey, we're exclusive. Why are you meeting other people?
Yeah, and I knew he was going for a month, and I knew like we weren't like that official, but it just, yeah, a lot happened. Honestly,
Yeah.
his ex best friend was like
Ugh, it's
signing. It's a
crazy.
lot, but
So
his
my
best friend
phone
was signing
broke.
into his
Uh-huh.
accounts and messaging me.
My phone broke and I logged into my Snapchat on my friend's phone that was European, and he like kind of like brought me to Europe kind of, and he was showing me around. I guess I forgot to log out, and he
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
like started messaging Matt like, "I think you're really hot. Like, Steven is seeing other guys here. Like, I want to be with you. And like Matt didn't tell me until I got back to LA.
Because at that point, I didn't know who I was messaging anymore. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
who signed it to who? And also, I was barely getting messages from you at all. Like, I was not really hearing from you. So I was like, I'll just tell you about what your friend's doing when you get back. But also, I also didn't want to be like, you're hooking up with, I was just like, okay. And then we kind of like got back, had our little meeting, and you were like, I'm getting, like, we're not ready. And I
What
was
went
like,
down in
yeah.
that meeting?
Basically what Steven originally started with, he said, but I was already like done.
Yeah.
And you were already done. I think we were just like mad at each other. It was a very like sassy meeting, I would have to say. Like,
Okay.
I don't even
for lack of a better
remember.
word.
Was that an expectation that still plays out today, where maybe Steven, you're kind of removed, and Matt, you expect more communication, or you guys have figured that out?
Steven's come a long, long, long way. He's a whole different person in our relationship than he was at that time.
Tell me about it.
I'm really happy
What's
with him.
changed in the last 3 years since you guys started dating again?
He's more affectionate and
Yeah, I
can
used to not
voice-
like affection or PDA.
At all?
or not even
No.
PDA.
What's the
but,
reason?
like,
I
at
just think
home.
I honestly wasn't comfortable like being gay and showing
Yeah.
that affection in public. It just made me uncomfortable.
Yeah. You think that was internalized from your childhood?
Yeah,
Yeah.
most definitely.
Yeah.
He'll still get more like, especially because we live in downtown, like nervous when we're out about like,
Yeah,
You
like
know
I
what
don't want to
people are
get hate
seeing.
crimed, and like
Yeah.
I am just very aware, and you just never know,
Yeah.
I like to be cautious and careful. And
Do you feel like that adds, I imagine it must add a ton of stress to your
Yeah, I
life,
was
not being
gonna
able to
say.
live the way you want to live?
now I feel like I'm past that stress, but like at a younger age, definitely.
Yeah.
I
And-
also don't like attention being drawn to us, so I feel like that's another reason that it's like we're young, we're gay, like there's already like people are gonna stare, so I'm just like refrain from that happening if I can.
Yeah. And what changes did you see in Matt over the last 3 years?
I mean, he's like a different person. He like grew up, I feel like we were still kids at 16, 17, 18. I mean, now we're just entirely different. We like think different. We are more like authoritative, I would say. He was kind of just like a sweet little boy before, but now he can speak up, and he's just more of like an adult, I would say.
Has that been a conscious choice of both of you growing individually or growing in the same direction or growing together? Like, or have you thought, how have you thought about that?
In some aspects, yeah, I would say like in communication wise, it's something that we've like made it a point to work on, right?
yeah, we're also at a completely different like space than we were in our first year back together. I think Steven already had grown a lot then. And that's how I was kind of like, okay, let's try this again.
Yeah.
But I think even now, like our communication when we argue is a lot better. We like are more vocal about how we feel about certain things that we do that we might not like, and that we might like, that we do. And since we're like kind of always together in each other's person, we're just so comfortable with each other. We see all sides of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that has helped us a lot to understand each other.
How do you fight?
I sometimes shut down.
Yes.
Like if I'm annoyed or something, I will just get very quiet, and Matt will have to pry it out of me.
Yes.
I don't necessarily like conflict, so sometimes I will
conflict avoidant.
I will just try to avoid it.
Yeah.
But I've
I'm like the
realized
opposite.
Matt has helped me in this aspect of not shutting down and just addressing the issue so that we can just resolve it. But that's one way that I feel like we
I'm
fight.
like the type that I'm like, let's escalate this to the end so it can be done.
Escalate.
No, actually,
escalate in
though.
intensity? Like,
Like,
I want fire
Honest-
against fire?
it actually is kind of bad sometimes, but it's a kind of a way that I like, especially when we fight about small things, because we do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I see where this is going. I'm like, let's just get to the end so that we can be done. Like, let's argue about it because we're going to, instead of like sit and pout and sulk and go our separate ways and like lock the door and be alone and listen to music and
That's
then
what I
fight
would do.
later
Uh-huh.
and then fight later and then get over it. I'm just like, I'll get mad and I'll leave the room and then I'll come right back and I'll be like, let's finish talking about this right now.
Are you okay with those fiery disagreements then? Or is it like, I want to approach this disagreement in a very calculated and strategic way and like, hey, let's sit down and be calm and rationalize
That's more
this?
me.
Okay.
That's what we do
Matt-
when it's a really big fight and then we don't see each other for like a day. Like Steven will leave. Like that's what Steven does. That honestly annoys me
I
when we
used to
fight.
do- I
Is
used
he'll
to.
just
I
be out
don't
the
do that
door,
anymore.
go hang out with his friends or go out or
Yeah, I
do
used
whatever.
to just leave.
And I'm
'Cause
like,
like if I'm not comfortable, I'm just gonna leave and just avoid it. But
Yeah.
now at least I try to just get it over and done with as soon as possible, because there's no point in dragging it out. And yeah,
sometimes all it takes is like even this morning we had like a little bickering
Yeah.
and then you took a shower and you come out and we're like, I'm sorry.
I've learned to
it's
just let
done.
go of things quicker.
Why do you think you were conflict avoidant to start?
I just generally don't like conflict if I don't need conflict, and sometimes I might feel like I'm not being heard in the way that I like feel is correct.
Yeah.
But that might just be me thinking one way is correct, and you know what I'm saying?
Was your family very conflict avoidant growing up?
Not really.
No.
My mom is very confrontational, will like get her way. There wasn't like crazy arguing
Yeah.
either, but
I feel like
my
your
mom is
speaks your
very
mind for
yeah,
sure.
like
Do you feel like because maybe your mom was confrontational that you as the child became like this repressed, I will just like say yes and avoid this conflict rather than fighting back, and that's how you fell into this?
yes and no, because sometimes I catch myself being very controlling, and
Okay.
my mom like was very controlling, like woman of the house kind of vibe. So sometimes my mom will even say, I think you got that from me, because you sometimes speak with such authority, and it's like, shouldn't be like that.
Yeah. And Matt, for you, what makes you think or that heading conflict right on is the right approach? Or where do you think you got that from?
I'm not sure actually, but definitely like in high school when I'd have problems with friends.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was my friendship circles, but I feel like there were always like text fights, like drama and stuff like that. And so like, because I feel like it applies to like friends and not just like romantic relationships. Because even with your friends, I tell Steven like you need to confront the issue, and he'll
Yeah.
just throw it away and be like, you know. Anyways, I think it has something to do with that. I don't really know about my family
Yeah.
per se. I was thinking about that when Steven was answering, and I'm like, I'm not really sure. But I also think it honestly has a lot to do with my first relationship. I didn't really touch on it earlier, but that's kind of like what unraveled everything when I was back in Virginia. Was I was like secretly dating my like best friend at the time,
Okay.
and it was so toxic and terrible and
Toxic in what way?
As many ways as you can think of.
emotionally
I'm
like
kidding.
emotionally abusive, I guess you could say. Emotionally toxic, I don't know.
Towards you.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was not much older than me. He was in high school, but I was like a sophomore. He was a senior, and he was also like held back. So we had a lot. I was just fighting, and crazy. And I
Yeah.
think I might have learned that after the fight gets really insane with him, then he apologizes.
He becomes sweet.
And he he realizes also that he's in the wrong, or at least some of the time. So I think deep down, if I'm going to be completely honest, I might have kind of picked it up from that, but I wouldn't say that our issues or our fights are anything like
That. Yeah. Are there any other ways that you saw your first or that relationship with him impact your relationship now?
Yeah, I think unfortunately it impacted it in a lot of ways because it was my first time that I let myself really explore my feelings for guys.
Mhm.
So I think and it was long, I guess, and we were young, and it was so dramatic that
Mhm.
it really, I think, left a print on like my relationship viewpoint, I guess.
Steven, for you, do you ever think about the fact that you haven't been in another relationship? That this is the only relationship you know?
Yeah, I think about it a lot, and it blows my mind. But also, before I was in a relationship, I remember always thinking that I would like to not date around a ton.
Yeah.
And
Why is that?
I don't know why that is. I just always had this fantasy of my head, in my head and have always just I've always admired couples that have been together from early ages, and I always just thought that that was like
Very
beautiful
noble.
and
Yeah.
noble, and just I just liked that way of life, I guess. I didn't intentionally plan for this to
Yeah, yeah.
happen, but I also think I was just very selective when like I first became gay, and I just was scared of relationships. And considering and I had been together once prior and then became friends, I felt maybe secure in that like he was a good,
Fit for you.
yeah.
That's so interesting. Do you, this is kind of random, but something I can't really relate to, so I'm curious to get your thought on, is I feel like for heterosexual couples, there's so much media to consume about how relationships should be, or at least you have like a vision in your head of what successful relationships look like. What has not having that been like?
One thing that I could think of is I feel like a lot of heterosexual couples are their own friend groups.
Yeah.
Like the guys will have their guys, the girls
Yeah,
will have their
true.
girls. And one thing,
And they'll mesh.
right.
Yeah.
And or they'll go out and do their things with their
Yeah.
their groups or whatever.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed for us is that because we're both guys, obviously, our friendship kind of just our friendships collide into just one. And sometimes I wonder if that is like the most healthy, because I'm
Romantic relationships and friendships, you're saying.
like,
Those collide.
Like,
just friendships in general.
because
Like,
most of our friends are like girls and gays.
yeah. So
Okay.
sometimes I'm like,
We
this
have like the
is-
same friend demographic. I
Yeah.
guess.
So sometimes I'm just like, it's interesting being like a gay couple, like all of our friends are one, instead of us having like our girlfriends and our guy friends, you know?
Yeah. And you don't like that. You wish you had more exposure
Not
to
that I
different.
don't not like
It has
that.
pros and cons.
Yeah, it has pros and cons. It makes just our social life like a million times easier, because on our times of being social, we can just hang out with our friends. And there
Yeah.
will be other times where I'll
Yeah.
just go hang out with a friend, and I think that's
It makes
healthy.
us have like less alone time, you know.
Yeah.
And also, all our friends are friends of both of us, kind of. So
Yeah.
it makes it harder to kind of confide about relationship issues, maybe, because you know we're both friends with everyone. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Also, an interesting for us, at least, an interesting dynamic is just because I had recently moved back when we became together. So, and I kind of was restarting my social life again. I kind of left my social life behind when I had moved home for a little bit, and yeah. So a lot of my friends end up becoming Steven's friends already. So that has been kind of hard.
How
But
have
back
you,
to your question, one of the biggest issues I think that there are is because we are gay, a lot of gay, it's hard to have gay friends because are you friends or are you
more than
possibly
friends?
more than friends?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that makes it, that adds some kind of not maybe jealousy, but like suspicion and like angst and creating friendship with gay people.
just
you
in a
know?
platonic way?
Yeah, because you can't be like, oh, I'm hanging out with my boys. Like,
Yeah.
who's this guy? And I mean, if it's an attractive guy, straight or gay, it just makes it has that kind of awkward.
And just the gay world in general.
Yeah,
Gays tend to
everyone's
be more
open.
Promiscuous, and
They
especially in
don't care
LA,
about
they don't
homebreaking,
care.
or they're just
so
used to most gay couples being open, which
open,
most, not most, but maybe most, a lot are.
How do you guys go about handling that in your specific relationship? What if one of you wants to be friends with a single gay guy who's very promiscuous? Do you have a set policy on it?
It has affected. It's affected some of my friendships for sure.
In like you can't have those friends anymore.
Yeah.
Who?
I mean, I don't want to talk about.
We can bleep it out.
I mean, for one, that was my friend.
That
and
was one.
Steven
friend,
thinks he
yes.
saw us text about something.
No, it's
He-
that Matt was commenting fire emojis, and I think it's a little odd to be commenting fire emojis on another attractive
Well-
male's pictures, whether or not he's straight. Fire means hot.
That's Steven's side, and we've had this fight
Matt
so
says
many
fire
times.
means
I have done
fire.
polls on my story about this. The fire emoji is probably the most friendly emoji, I would say,
you
as a
think it's
compliment.
friendly?
You're saying fire. He would comment on mine. He's one of those social media people that
Would you
is very.
comment it on a girlfriend's picture if you had a girlfriend?
Well, this is. I
Fire.
feel like this is where it gets different. Is like I would on a platonic girl, if I definitely knew that she was platonic, yes, maybe. I would also comment it on a girl that I was interested in.
I think it's very versatile, but
It
it
is.
means fire. I don't think it means hot. Steven thinks it means hot. I think it means like fire.
I don't
and
think
I
it
think
means.
that's a
I don't
very
think it necessarily
friendly.
means hot. I think it could just mean fire. Like this is just
Fire?
like fire.
And I think
So it's
that's
hot
a friendly.
then.
But like, here's the
'Cause
thing:
fire
it's
is
a social
hot.
Well, you can
media
recognize
friend
someone
who
else's
likes to
attractiveness
support.
generally, right?
It's
Yeah.
the problem is that the only reason I even was really doing it is because he was always like helping me. And we would do social media videos together sometimes, and he was always like commenting on my stuff to be nice. He kind of had like a momager. I'm gonna be honest, and like I feel like he was trying to do that and comment on all my stuff to make sure like I was also commenting and boosting his stuff. So
Yeah.
that was my way of
Which
being
is
very
fair.
platonic, which
Fair.
is commenting fire emojis was my like and Steven took the other way, and since then I've respected how Steven feels about it and let that friendship go, honestly. So one of my only friendships. So
I
that's
didn't say
I
he
think it's
had to
hard.
let the friendship go.
You
the
just
kid,
didn't want
made it very-
The kid moved out of LA
no he's
because
doing
this
all right.
was in the beginning of COVID. So this was several years ago.
But this
Since
happened
then,
before he moved out.
before he moved out.
Before he left LA, this happened. Remember? Because it
Yeah.
happened because I also hung out with him when he was out of town.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't say he had to stop being friends with the kid. I wouldn't do that. He moved, and I've since then told Matt that he can hang out with him. I was upset about something that happened, but I didn't say you can't be friends with him or anything like that.
But there hasn't been any circumstances in the opposite direction where Matt, you feel like you've said, "Hey, Steven, I don't want you to do this anymore."
Yeah, there has. Steven had Steven Steven had a kind of I don't know. I guess they say like sneaky link now, like a little like friend.
Oh my God.
And this is the guy he was seeing right before me. And one night when we were living
Was
together,
not
you were
saying that.
he was very
was
rude to
hanging
me
out
as
with
like or his
him.
roommate
Uh-huh.
while he was hanging out with this guy. And then so that was one that I was like, you don't need to be his friend. You guys were not friends before. You were only something before, and you've also been very rude to me because of you were like getting with this guy. So I just was
This
like,
was when we
that's
were
not
friends.
a good idea.
Before Matt and I were together.
And he's gay. This
Yeah.
this one's gay.
These friendships or relationships that have been curated, have they been mostly curated through social media, or how are you meeting people that you spend time with?
A lot of friends that I've had just like years before hanging out with Matt. The few friends that we've like made in like more recent times were
Kind
just
of through
through mutual friends.
yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. What's it been like being in a very public relationship on social media? Does that add stress? Has it been overall good?
It has added stress, I would say. I mean, essentially we're like running a business.
Mm-hmm.
So we like work together. We, aside from working together, we like are dating.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of what we do is just everything together.
Yeah.
So I feel like any couple that is running a business together, that is living together, there's going to be a little bit of added stress, I feel like. So it's kind of just normal. But yeah, I feel like there is a little bit of more stress and pressure just because.
And I would say we're a lot less public than we used to be, honestly. We used
Yeah.
to be very couple content focused, and now we've kind of
Branched away.
and we're more doing what we want and what we do.
Was there a conscious conversation that led to that where you were like, hey, we want to start delineating that a bit? Or was it just natural?
Unfortunately, it was just like a natural slow fade, and it had a lot to do with the fact that we were doing this all on TikTok, and then Steven's account got deleted on TikTok.
Yeah, my
So-
TikTok got deleted and I would post every single day. And that kind of started us kind of making a lot of couple oriented content. And when my TikTok was deleted, that kind of slowed down us creating content because I would post every day.
And we were waiting, thinking maybe it'll come back.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll,
And
we
then
were
we-
trying so long.
Yeah,
It's
that kind
terrible.
of just slowed down everything. And I think I also got a lack of motivation after that. So I used to vlog a lot and I kind of just stopped vlogging in a sense because TikTok, became like the new like biggest platform. and it was like the easiest to grow on.
Yeah.
You could see very quick success on there. So yeah, I think that had a huge factor in us like we don't not
We
make
do,
content.
just not like we used to.
Yeah, not like we used to.
Used to be like daily video.
Daily, yeah. We would
One of
make,
our channels.
we
at
would
least.
film videos every day.
So what is the priority now in terms of either where you want to go with social media or your career in general?
Well,
Our priorities are acting, always.
and
Okay.
like commercial acting, print modeling, and
As soon as we get an audition, everything is out the
Yeah.
window for sure.
we,
But
like,
it's great
forget
because we
about
have each
social
other.
media.
So we like read with each other.
Yeah.
We
You do
put each
auditions
other on
together?
acting classes. We've done
Yeah,
workshops and acting classes together.
we like
So-
read with each other for like acting class.
Do you go out for the same roles?
We have once.
We have
twice. But like only one like more bigger roles, and then we also auditioned together as a couple.
Oh,
So
Oh,
we actually
interesting.
but we booked something together this year.
yeah, we did a Disney commercial.
It was actually so cute.
Yeah, it
so
was-
sad actually.
Yeah, it
we
got
were like
cut.
we were like basically prom dates, so it was like a gay like little Disney moment, and it was like Cinderella themed, and then
a huge
like-
step for Disney to put a gay couple in a commercial.
Have they not done that before?
I don't know, but I know they have
think they
only
have.
It's new for them.
only recently
Yeah.
have they started
they
to.
it's just they
Their
always get,
CEO was like
yeah.
like homophobic before.
Yeah,
but
the
they
whole
like cut it
Florida
for a
thing.
time or
Yeah.
whatever. They ran out
Yeah.
of time editing it, so they cut our whole
They
like
cut our
the whole school
commercial.
dance scene is like not in the commercial, and so sad. It was supposed to come out actually on our anniversary.
Oh wow, that
which
would
is
have been
crazy
amazing.
and cute.
Yeah.
It was for Disney's 100-year anniversary, so it was kind of
Disneyland,
a
yeah.
big deal. We were really
We
thankful
were
to
so
book
excited.
that.
I mean, we get paid for the work, but we get paid so much less if the commercial doesn't air.
Yeah,
All
because
your
you're not
money
getting
makes,
royalties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
you only get paid for your work day, which
Yeah.
is like
Almost nothing.
It's not that much.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's okay. On to the next.
So do you think about social media then just as a tool to get more auditions, or
Not a tool because
I
it has
don't-
its pros and
yeah.
cons. Some people don't take you seriously in the industry at all because if you're like, who's a social media kid that's only
because you're getting
auditioning?
branded
to
as
be
the social media
famous,
person?
you know?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
But we like, we know ourselves, and we both know that we wanted to do this our whole lives, and we're not just here for that reason. So we're like serious about it.
No, that's cool. At what point do you think you'd say, hey, I feel like every actor gets asked this question, but like I should consider something else. At what point would you consider personally giving up?
I mean, most actors are doing something else.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah.
But I mean, we technically are. It's
That's
just
how I feel
still
about
in the
us.
same
is, like,
industry.
as much as we would love for that to be our one and only like job.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm so grateful about social media is that we are able to have multiple streams of income so that we don't only have to rely on acting, because that would be huge stress. So yeah, it's been nice that we like do various things and
I mean, if
are
you're-
also working towards other things
Yeah.
as well at the same time as working towards acting. Like I want to like have a rental property within the next year or so, or like we've been talking about maybe like buying something in Mexico, in Tulum or something.
Would you do that together?
Yeah.
together, yeah.
Yeah.
something like that.
I like to, just be like weary of like just staying on top of everything, because like you said, you just don't know where
Yeah.
acting can lead. Thankfully, like for the past several years, I've been able to book jobs, but relying solely on that would like not cut it. So
But technically, we can still be trying our whole lives.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an audition. The
I
sad
mean,
thing
would you
is,
personally?
I don't expect to be.
Yeah,
But
fair enough.
I maybe would, honestly.
You love it that much.
Yeah, I think
I mean,
so.
a commercial, like one commercial a year is like can do really well. So like even if I'm like 30 and booking one
Yeah.
commercial a
Yeah, yeah.
year, like I'd take a. Hopefully not though, but
Yeah. Do you feel like you guys have the ability to relate better because you are in such similar career paths?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then do you worry about that being like you don't have anything else? Like how much time do you spend talking about your career, talking about your relationship versus like, hey, we just got to take a step back and like do our own things and not be so intertwined? Does that impact at all?
We do sometimes have conversations where we need to take a step back, but I think we
A
also
step back from what?
from like being so intertwined in each other's lives and working together. But I think we
Yeah.
always come to the realization that like it is mostly like convenient to
Yeah.
have each other for
Yeah.
reading and for auditions and self tapes and also for content making. So at the end of the day, like we end up working together still.
For when you're making content, at what point do you draw the line of like, hey, we should film this for social media versus we should just do this on our own and not do it for social media?
We sometimes we both say that. I think you've said that before when I've been trying to film something, and I think I probably said that to you before. Because we are on our phones just constantly. So sometimes it's just like, can we just have a real moment? But I don't think I mean, maybe back in the day
Yeah.
more, but I don't think we overdo it now. I think we have a lot of
Yeah.
moments in time together where we're just us and we're not filming it
Yeah.
and sharing it.
Do you guys have a clear path of where you both want to go for in this relationship together? Do you have you talked about that?
We have
Like you already live together, right?
I think we're on the same. Yes, we do. We're on the same page, kind of. I think though, like we do have a lot of couple friends that are, like getting engaged and getting married that are like similar ages to us and are on social media and that are another gay TikTok couple or whatever, and we've kind of both feel like we're just like a little young
We're young.
to jump into.
Do you feel like
anything
the
that.
social expectations or stigmas are different for gay couples rather than straight couples? Like, what's the timeline? Is the timeline any different? Like, at what point do you think you would
I
be
don't-
ready to get engaged?
I just talked about this. I was like, I probably want to get engaged in like my late 20s.
Okay, so like
Probably.
5 or 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, like 27, 28, 29 maybe. But I also think it depends on where I'm at in my life. Like I want to make sure that I'm like,
Financially stable.
financially
Yeah.
stable and
Yeah.
honestly at where I want to be in my career before I do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of things play into that, and right now we're just young, so we're just kind of like taking it day by day.
And I think we do, or at least originally when we decided to move in together, I was definitely thinking or feeling like this is mostly a financial step than a relationship step because we were young and we had just lived together and moved apart so we could make sure we could, handle that and live separate and still date and be good, which we did. And we moved back in because we were just like, this is not cost efficient. We're spending way more than we were when we lived together and we both could live in a way nicer place.
Yeah.
But now we've been living together for like 2 years, and I think we probably would have taken that step anyways in our relationship by now.
Interesting. So you guys moved in together purely for the fact that it was cheaper to live together than to live apart?
Not purely, but
Okay,
I
but
think
no.
maybe
It was a big
I
contributing
did say
factor.
that, and I might have said
Yeah.
that also because I was worried about taking that step, and I also,
I see.
I think that it was
didn't
also
make
partly because
sense
we were
and-
literally spending every single night together
Yeah.
as if we lived together and just had 2 places in LA. Like it was literally just night
It
here, night
wasn't-
years.
I wouldn't say it was just the financial aspect because besides that, we would still be together every day. So
Yeah.
it was like it just made sense.
was kinda just
in
like,
more
what are we
ways than
doing?
one. Yeah.
How much do you talk about money in your relationship today?
A lot.
For
I'm
what?
very money conscious.
Okay.
I'm very for the future, and I just like to be like financially responsible just because I know what it feels like to like be at your last few dollars. So we talk about money like a good amount.
I mean, when we were first friends and first together, we were at a very different financial state than we both are today.
Yeah.
So I think
In what way?
we were both struggling a lot with money.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I mean, we still have struggles, and everyone honestly has struggles. You can have a bunch of money and still have money struggles.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just we started making more money on social media and making like all of our money when we were together. So
And what's your individual perspective on finances or money? Like, it sounds like you're pretty interested in saving and developing like a long-term financial outlook. Do you
I
have a
was just
similar?
talking about this with him actually. I was telling him I used to be such a good saver, and I feel like I'm not anymore. I think definitely when I moved back to LA, I had a super savers mindset, and I had a lot of money saved.
Yeah.
Not even that I was making very much. I was just saving like all
Yeah,
of it that I
Matt's a
could.
very hard worker. I will applaud him.
Oh,
Him
sweet.
moving back to Virginia and deciding to come back on his own after having his sister to like help him. Like that to me was like, I was like, wow, this kid is really,
Yeah.
trying hard and working hard. Like he had 3 jobs technically, social media, and then 2
Yeah, 2
day
real
jobs. I was like, what a hard worker,
Yeah.
At an early age to go home and save. I was like, That
Yeah, I think I
takes a
want to
lot.
like
I
have some
couldn't
of
have
that
done it,
ethic
and I was
back
older than
again.
him.
Yeah.
But
I was like, wow.
I definitely like being very open and vocal about our finances in a relationship. Honestly, like I
We
do like that we are
split at-
so like we talk about when we're struggling. We talk about like kind of about how much money we like have, how much money we make on everything, and I think it's
I
good, especially
pressure
because we
him
live
to open
together.
a Roth IRA.
Yeah, which is good. I need to, but
He has a stock portfolio because of me.
yeah, Steven's good with stocks.
Yeah,
and he
okay,
helps me,
nice.
yeah.
Has it always, like you said, when you moved, that you had been a good saver and you don't feel like you're a good saver anymore?
Not as much as I used to be, but I'm been better in the last couple of months than I was. But I think when we both started making a lot of money, and then I had already had so much saved, and then just starting to actually make good money was just a lot.
You were
at
falling
once.
victim to lifestyle creep.
Lifestyle, and I mean, LA is just
No
expensive in
budgeting.
general. No actual budgeting
I mean, when no
and paying
one
attention to
teaches
what's
you, you don't
happening.
have parents that are like monitoring
Yeah.
what we're doing, spending, making.
And then taxes.
It's just
that was actually the worst. Is I didn't really expect or know what to expect with
that
taxes.
hit us like a
And from going from not making much
train.
at all to making a bunch, and just realizing, oh wait, I have to give
Save
like
a lot.
almost half of that back.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So
Where did you learn each individually about how to be conscious around finances or money?
the internet.
Just like Reddit or YouTube or Google
YouTube-
searches?
YouTube and TikTok, honestly,
Yeah.
taught me a lot about. Well, also at a very early age, I had like family members talk to me about the stock market. So I always had an interest, but I never had funds to like go into that endeavor or whatever. So when like we started making a little bit more money, I was like, oh, I have extra money to like invest and do this with X, Y, and Z. So that was like an opportunity that I hadn't had before. And then that opened the door of knowledge. Now let me learn because I can do X, Y, and Z, I guess.
And then you impart that knowledge on Matt, or Matt, you learn on your own, in your own.
my sister's also very into investing, so I've actually definitely leaned on both of you guys for like investing stuff. It's not my forte, it's not my favorite, but I definitely think it's smart to do, and I definitely have had a lot of help from Steven on like what to invest. I made some investments on my own. I made some poor investments also. So you know, it's not my favorite, honestly. I think there's one investment that really cost me, and I just
What was
am
that?
still a little.
Cost both of us.
Yeah, it cost both of us a lot.
Because you looped him in?
I was struggling a little bit, and so it was one of those coins that were expected to go fast, and I just
Okay.
was like, oh, well, I'm like, I'm gonna regret, like, I'm not doing great right now. I'm gonna regret not putting like a lot of what I had in, and I still had a lot from saving, and I put in way too much, and then it,
Plummeted.
so.
Crashed.
So you both invested
little
in
bitter.
some coin that just went to
Yeah.
zero.
But I did a little more.
Was it another social media influencer that was like, hey, you should invest in this?
I mean, it's to each our own. It's our own choice to make when you're
Yeah.
investing. But we get advice from different people. And,
yeah, we got
yeah.
advised
Yeah.
too, and we felt like it was not that it's anyone's fault, but we felt like it was trustworthy advice, so we took it.
But no one ever really
But
knows.
yeah, you
so.
never know. It's all at your own risk. So
Nice. And so when
you
you're
live
talking,
and you learn. You know.
when you're talking about money today, is it around like how to manage household expenses, or like, hey, what are you doing to save for the future, or like, what are we doing to save for our future, or
It's everything.
No, it's all of that,
It's
actually.
me
Yeah.
telling Matt to open a Roth IRA. It's us talking about, hey, we're going to Europe next month. What's the best way to buy our flight? Should we be using miles? How like we need a budget for the trip. What are we buying today? Because we're going to Europe next month. It's everything. It's eating out. You
Yeah.
know, are we eating out too much?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Shopping too much.
how are you guys generally splitting those expenses?
We generally split
Split
almost everything. We treat each other here and there.
Okay.
Which
Or
also
like
kinda
I'll
just
get
evens out.
one thing, he'll get the next, you know. But
You feel like that works for you?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I honestly
I've
prefer
heard
that
it's a
way, but we
fact,
do
yeah.
split usually.
I've heard couples that split everything. It's like they just like
They're happier.
happier couple.
Yeah.
So.
I don't feel like I mean, I don't prefer to nickel and dime each other, and I don't feel like we really do.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like just, unnecessary, because in the end of the day, like if one of
I
us is like
invoice
picking up
him.
paper
No, I'm kidding.
towels or picking up toilet paper or anything like that, like the other one's going to do it like a couple weeks from then for something else. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
At what point did you become this open in your relationship? Was it always this way, or was it like a year in or 2 years in?
It was pretty early, I feel
yeah,
like.
I think because we went from being friends that lived together, already very close in that sense, we started making money before we were starting dating, kind of doing the same social media stuff, and
Yeah.
then
We definitely talked about money before we were even
yeah.
together, honestly.
So when we started dating, it just
Because
continued.
Matt would
you
tell
know,
me, "Oh, I'm saving to move back. You know, X, Y. This is how much I have." And
and we would teach each other little like tips and tricks we both had to make extra money on social media.
yeah,
And yeah,
That's amazing. We're just gonna turn to some rapid fire to wrap things up.
awesome.
I want both of your perspectives individually. We're gonna start with something super easy, which is just like if you had to give one piece of relationship advice to another couple, what would it be?
always step out of your own shoes and look at things from every perspective because it's so easy to only see things your way, and it's important to be able to see things from another light, another
Mhm.
perspective, because it can just give you different kind of insight.
Amazing.
Mine would be always communicate your wants and your needs. You can't expect from your partner to start doing something or treating you a different way if you're not communicating how you feel or that you want that.
Very
Yeah.
true.
What is the biggest pet peeve that you have of each other?
Matt is not very clean to my standards, and everyone has different cleaning standards, so to each their own.
What are your cleaning standards?
I'm a little bit OCD, I've noticed.
About certain things.
I
like
didn't
Neurotic about what type of stuff?
I don't like dirty counters.
Yeah.
I don't like food like
crumbs and
crumbs,
stuff.
just normal dirty habits. I
Yeah.
like my bathroom in order. I like my home to just look put together because everyone's different. And I personally, my environment just reflects how I feel and how I go about my day. So just like a clean set home makes me feel better.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really what it is.
I guess like I don't know really what else to say besides going off that. My version is my pet peeve, which is that I feel like I do most of like the cooking, and I would be really nice if it was like, since I know you appreciate my cooking and stuff, if he would clean up or offer to help me clean up like, the dishes and stuff. But I feel like he thinks it's my mess, my cleanup,
Oh,
and that's
interesting.
frustrating.
I feel like there's a very common saying that like I do the cooking, you do the cleaning.
There is.
I personally
like that?
think
He thinks
cleaning
he would
goes
cook
beyond
cleaner.
the kitchen.
Cleaning goes beyond
The kitchen in my eyes. It goes into your bedroom, your living room,
Fair
your
enough.
bathroom.
Yeah.
And I also think you can cook
Yeah.
and be clean while you cook. And I do help clean up. I don't clean up everything, but I do help.
For people that maybe struggled in a similar way with rejection from their family, what advice would you give them in order to basically look at the bright side or that there's hope in the future?
This is kind of cliche, but I would just say it gets better. I know that is like said a lot, but it genuinely does. Like as you get older, you will find yourself being more comfortable in yourself. You will also worry less about others' opinions because you're just growing into your own person and like growing into adulthood and life, honestly.
I think it definitely starts with like accepting yourself, and if you're in a unsafe place to where you can't come out, then I obviously don't think that you should if it's going to be unsafe for you. But I will say that I always told myself when I was young and when I was starting to realize I will never come out. I would always say that to myself. No way in hell, I'm just going to deal with it forever.
Really?
And then when I did, yeah, I did. It was just
Wow.
crazy looking back at, but I do not regret it at all. And it was such a relief to come out in the end. And as long as you have one support system or somewhere you can go, like it's going to be worth it. Even if you're going to have to make the biggest sacrifice, which is like your whole family or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
it's going to be worth it in the end. You can't live alive for forever.
Yeah. What's one tradition that you grew up with your family that you're most looking forward to continuing over with your own family?
That's cute.
Belief in God and having faith and turning to prayer when you feel like life might be tough.
I definitely think one thing my family did growing up that I really appreciated was eating not all, but like most meals together and definitely having like family time. And I think it's easy, especially in nowadays when all kids have like public school and then parents are working and then there's activities and sports to go to. It's can be a lot of everyone's doing their own individual thing, and I think family time is really important. And I know there's also a lot of like Christmas just passed, so I just have it in my head, and I spent my Christmas with my family. So I want to have a lot of like Christmas traditions I want to pass down
Yeah.
and do.
You're saying you want to raise your kids in formalized religion, right? Have you guys talked about that together or no?
We talk about
I know. I mean, I
religion.
know that.
Yeah.
It wasn't a shock to me when he just said that. I definitely struggle with my viewpoint on religion just because of my family.
It's so
and-
It was
traditional.
put
Yeah.
onto us in different ways.
Okay.
So the way we like feel about it is obviously different.
I do think I probably want to raise my kids in religion, or at least
You wouldn't.
do. I say I
Do.
share
There's
share it
different
with them,
levels of-
and
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying they're gonna be in like religious school.
Super
and-
true. Yeah.
I think
but-
I also have to figure out my own religious journey before I.
It gives you
really
some
know
sense
the
of
answer.
community, which is
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah.
and sense of morals.
sense
I
of
mean,
morals.
I do appreciate
absolutely.
like a lot
morals
of my
and faith
upbringing,
is just so important. Like
Yeah.
you need to have faith because that's when people, life can get tough. So
Yeah.
it's good to have some kind of spiritual something to turn to.
Yes. Yeah. Guiding path.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. It's been a pleasure.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thanks for having
This
us.
has been a
good
super
time.
insightful
This
conversation.
was more fun than I thought.
Yeah.